So how did we get here? I mean, where did the global epidemic come from? And this relates a lot to the kind of work that I've done. We really believe that HIV started in Central Africa. It started in the Congo. I mean, all evidence really points back to these viruses. As probably these viruses have been around for millions and millions of years. And humans have no doubt been infected by HIV in the past. It's just that now we have in place, modern society has created an incubator that really allows this virus to spread on a global level. But it was probably back around 1930 which the first transmission of HIV took place. So probably a chimpanzee was infected with the virus, and from chimps, HIV spread to humans. And this is, you can envision a situation like this taking place in Africa. There are a lot of bush meat markets. You do see monkeys being sold for their meat. And somehow, probably back in the 1930s, somebody became infected. Now, HIV actually first started as SI, simian immunodeficiency virus in monkeys. And simian immunodeficiency virus in monkeys was transmitted to chimpanzees, and then from chimpanzees it went into humans. And as I'll talk about briefly at the end of this, I think there's actually a lot that we can learn about in terms of how to address the HIV epidemic in humans by looking at monkeys. Because actually, if you look at monkeys in the wild, most monkeys are infected with SIV, but they don't get AIDS and die. So somehow the virus and the monkeys have learned to sort of co-evolve. And I think this is a really sort of important and overlooked factor. It's not that monkeys are necessarily immune to HIV. Monkeys get infected, but they're able, monkeys get infected with SIV, but they're able to control replication of the virus and they're able to live with it, unlike humans, where we become infected and then over time, without any type of therapy, we will die from AIDS. So there's a lot of ongoing research to try to figure out why that is, and actually we really don't know why that is. So again, as I was putting together this presentation, I started to think about, so after HIV moved from monkeys into humans, moved from chimpanzees into humans, what were the factors that really caused it to spread? And I really think that, of course, one of the big factors is poverty. Lack of access to health care, the ability to diagnose and to catch these sort of health problems early. Lack of health care probably allowed it to spread from different communities. Africa, certainly, getting access to primary care in many parts of Africa is not easy. And I think that this is really a challenge right now for the global international development community to really try to build up just the ability to get primary care. It's not just about being able to treat HIV, TB, and malaria, but just to build a primary care infrastructure and one that's sustainable may even have a bigger benefit than just treating these specific diseases. But I think really, one of the big factors is really modern transport. I think about all of the trucking routes that have really spread throughout the continent of Africa, and how humans became more mobile in the 20th century. And it's this mobility that may be one of the biggest factors that contribute to the spread of HIV. And of course, population continued to really rapidly increase in the second half of the 20th century. For most of human history, we were really stable, and then we invented things like antibiotics, and we had the Green Revolution, which really was able to provide food for millions and millions of people. And while that had great benefits to human beings, it causes massive population growth. And of course, as you get the massive population growth, more people start moving into urban environments, into the cities, and diseases such as HIV and tuberculosis really have the opportunity to spread. I think recently, though, one of the major contributors to the spread of HIV has been the difference between whether a community takes action against HIV or whether they remain inactive. And you can really see the difference between a country like Thailand and South Africa. I mean, in 1990, the HIV/AIDS prevalence rate was about the same in both Thailand and South Africa. Now, the Thais really aggressively addressed the epidemic. Behavioral interventions, getting people access to antiretrovirals, condom distribution, all of these sorts of things. And they were really able to contain their epidemic. South Africa took the opposite approach. I mean, for many years, Thabo Mbeki, the president of South Africa, really denied that there was an HIV epidemic in the country, and that led to inaction and not much support from the government, and as a result, HIV prevalence just really skyrocketed in South Africa. Now, the country I work in, Uganda, again, is another one of these success stories. The Ugandans acted very early. Ugandans pioneered this campaign in the late 80s, early 90s called zero grazing, about trying to, educate people about the spread of these viruses when you have multiple and concurrent partners. And lots of people, lots of men in Uganda have multiple partners. The zero grazing campaign is really one of the most effective behavioral interventions. And there were posters all around the country. And as a result, the rates of new infections really dropped in many parts of Uganda. And I think in Uganda now the overall HIV prevalence is around 5%, and they've done quite well. But again, there still are a lot of challenges, and I think there were just recently some articles in the New York Times, about the HIV epidemic in Uganda, mainly about the sort of failure of the international community to get people on to treatment in Uganda.
I can guess what zero grazing means. Is it like saying limit the number of partners you have and try to keep like a contained?
Try to stay faithful to
one person, or to like you just have a limited group? If you're having multiple partners, you will only have sex with each other.
I think they meant zero grazing. I think really meant for the Ugandans. They really meant monogamous relations.
So like you're married and only have sex with your partner.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was just sort of the people have tried to replicate, because multiple concurrent partnerships are a problem, particularly in South Africa. There's been some really nice studies that have been done in the last few years looking at these sexual networks throughout the country. They're actually really quite complex. And behavioral interventions to try to get people to reduce the number of partners they have in general haven't been that successful. But for some reason, it appears that it was quite successful in Uganda. I'm not sure if it was because of the messaging, if it was because of the culture, if it was because of the government was just so active, and it'd be interesting to sort of to really look at that. But yeah, the Ugandans have done pretty well in that.
So are the rate of new infections in a country like Thailand matching kind of the rates of deaths? Like, would we expect the percentage to go down over time, or is it kind of steady, deaths match new infections?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I think that in Thailand, the rates of new infections have gone down, but I believe that they did start to come up, and I think that this ended in 2000. I want to say that they've come up a little bit.